Welcome to Crime Cafe. Today I'm bringing you the case of Eli Hart, and I'm going to say straight off the bat that this case really just pisses me off. This one really got to me. It will probably be one of those cases that stays in my head forever because it really didn't need to happen. There were plenty of opportunities that weren't taken to stop this from happening. Eli was completely failed by the system, and we are going to talk about all the details of that. So I do want to give a disclaimer. This case is talking about a child. He is 6 years old, and not everyone can handle child cases, and that's completely understandable. So if this isn't for you, click out. There's plenty of other videos on my channel. I will see you in another one. So before we dive into this heartbreaking case, go ahead and grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea or whatever it is you want to drink. Sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Eli Hart, a 6-year-old little boy who dreamed of one day becoming a firefighter, was described as the sweetest kid. He was always happy and full of energy. He was very inquisitive, and he absolutely loved to play with matchbox cars. He had just recently learned how to fish, and he was so happy about that. He was a kid that was just so easy to love. Eli was the son of Jalissa Thaler and Tori Hart. Jalissa and Tori met each other in 2013 when they were both 19 years old. Jalissa was known to have some mental health issues. These became pretty prominent between the ages of 13 and 18. She had diagnoses of depression, mood disorder, and borderline personality disorder. Tori and Jalissa's relationship was completely fine until 2015. 2 years after they initially started dating, she had gotten pregnant with their son, and Jalissa stopped taking her medication during pregnancy and never went back on them. With Jalissa not taking her medication, it really took a toll on their relationship. Just a year later, in 2016, Tori moved out of their home after Jalissa filed a second domestic abuse complaint against him. Jalissa had told police that this time Tori hurt her during an argument and threatened to kill her with a shotgun. No charges were filed against Tori due to insufficient evidence. You're going to see that to be a theme here, that there is no sufficient evidence that proves that he was abusive towards her in any type of way at all. In a separate situation, Jalissa told police that Tori threatened to kill her if she ever left him. But after 3 days, she withdrew her complaint, stating to the police, quote, that because of her mental health issues, she constantly accuses Tori of things that he doesn't do, end quote. After the couple separated, Jalissa moved into her grandmother's house, Linda. Now, Linda believed the stories of domestic abuse. At first, Linda says that, quote, she is good at manipulating people. I know that, end quote. For 3 years, nothing significant aside from custody issues had happened during their co-parenting, but in 2019, Jalissa just randomly showed up at Tori's sister's wedding, uninvited, and just a few months after that, she had contacted the police and told them that Tori put a nail bomb in her car. No charges, once again, no charges were filed against Tori, but the judge ordered him to stay away from Jalissa for 2 years. During this time, they were having a huge custody battle over Eli. In 2021, Eli was actually removed from Jalissa's care and put into a foster home. According to the Star Tribune, she was arrested for stealing drugs from a health clinic and tested positive for illegal drugs. She was kicked out of 2 separate homes by landlords who were fed up with dealing with her. The police were called to her Farmington home 21 times within a 10-month period, and she failed to attend court-ordered mental therapy. She was kicked out of a required parenting class and had to find a new drug testing facility because of her, quote, bizarre behavior. The courts were considering placing Eli with Tori, his father, instead of a foster home, but didn't move forward with that after Jalissa kept making allegations of domestic abuse against him. She had wrote a letter to the judge saying that she is an amazing parent who always puts her son first. This is the time that I started to get extremely frustrated because there is a clear pattern here going on with Jalissa, and there is absolutely zero evidence to show that Tori is abusive in any type of way at all. But he is kept from his son because of these allegations that Jalissa kept making on him. while in the meantime, Julissa is being just a terrible person and getting in trouble left and right. And so I need to mention here that in Minnesota, an unmarried father has no legal rights to custody or visitation until paternity is established. Once paternity is established, then the father is considered a legal parent and can petition the court for custody or visitation rights. And an unmarried mother has sole legal and sole physical custody of that child until a court order says differently. Only a legal parent can ask the court for custody or parenting time. I don't know how to say this. Okay. So we're going to break this down a little bit, okay? So I'm in the state of Pennsylvania. The father, whether he's married to the mother or not, has the same rights as the mother. Okay? In Minnesota, the mother has all of the rights. If the man was married to the mom, he would then have rights to his own child. But because he's not married to the mother of his child, he has zero rights until he proves that that kid is his. And then, and only then, can he start to even petition for the right to see his child. And I don't think that's right at all. And even if the father is on the birth certificate, even if he's on the birth certificate, he has zero rights to his child. And I just don't agree with that. And it really, really bothers me, because maybe if it wasn't so hard for this father to get any type of anything with his kid, maybe he would still be alive. And it really, really bothers me. It makes me extremely angry and upset, because I don't agree. I know there are shitty dads, but there's also shitty moms. And we who watch the true crime community and all that stuff, we know that both parents can be pretty bad, but both parents can be really good. So I don't think just because he is a male, he should have those rights taken from him. That's his child. He's on the birth certificate. That's his child. So I know some might think, oh, it's a simple process. Prove that that kid's yours. There's a lot that goes into that. And in the meantime, your child is put in danger with a dangerous parent, a parent that's getting in trouble. Or in Eli's case, he is put in foster care with people other than his father. And that is doing damage to the child. Not only the parent, but to the child. I don't agree with that law at all. I think it's awful. Clearly. I'm like spitting all over my camera. That's how mad I am. So instead of being with his father, who desperately wanted custody of his child, Eli was placed in the custody of Dakota County for 457 days, over an entire year. And when Eli was in foster care, Julissa would tell him that it was his own fault he was in there. And it was his fault that he was taken from her to begin with. During one of Julissa's times where she was being very mentally unstable, she had an event that took place. I'm not sure what it was exactly, but that it left her locked out of her house, and inside eggs were smeared all over the floor. And I don't know why, but she told Eli that is what made them come and take him from her, and that it was his fault. During this time, the police were called to Julissa's home numerous times. They were there at least 2 times a week, and ambulances were constantly requested by her due to her fainting or her complaining about other health problems. So the police would also get called quite frequently by her neighbors, stating that they can hear a lot of banging and a lot of screaming in her home. With all of Julissa's issues and Eli getting older, he became really nervous around his mom. When they would have supervised visits, because during this time he is in foster care. So when he would have supervised visits, he would hide from her behind furniture, and he would refuse to talk to her. After the visits were over, he would more times than not have bathroom accidents, according to social workers. Tori also had visits with Eli, and he had passed background checks and was really a stabilizing force in Eli's life. There was absolutely no concerns over his ability to parent. No concerns were written down on paperwork or anything like that. worried about Tori being a good parent to Eli. The reason that they kept Eli from Tori is because of the accusations Jalissa kept putting on him. Even though they were unfounded, there was no evidence, nothing came about them, he still could not have his child. A social worker stated that, quote, Mr. Hart brings age-appropriate toys and activities and is very engaging with Eli. During these visits, Eli is noticeably smiling, talkative, energetic, and seems to enjoy them, end quote. In December of 2021, the order for Tori to stay away from Jalissa for 2 years was up for renewal. Jalissa ended up not showing up for that court date, so the entire thing was completely dropped. It was over. When she was asked why she didn't show up for the renewal, she stated that she wanted to keep her options open, whatever that means. Around this same time, Jalissa reached out to Tori's girlfriend, Josie, and actually said to her that Tori should adopt Eli because he is a good guy. So even Jalissa, in probably a state of level-headedness, knew that Tori should have his son and that she was unfit to be his mother. She knew that, and she even stated that. Even though Jalissa was saying these things, it was at this time that Eli was able to move back in with his mom on a trial basis. And it was at this time Jalissa once again, out of nowhere, filed another domestic abuse claim against Tori. She accused him of telling Eli that he would, quote, make mommy disappear if she won custody. She also blamed Tori for Eli's behavioral problems at school, which were hitting, biting, and urinating in his pants. The claims were rejected in the court, but the filing meant that Tori could not get any public assistance in his custody battle. So she is really just making this hard for him. Even though deep down she knows that he should have their child, she is just making it impossible for him to get him. During this time, Eli and Jalissa were living in a Spring Park apartment complex. His dad was back to being able to have his every other weekend visitation and every Tuesday. So he got to see him every Tuesday and every other weekend. So Tori and his fiance live about an hour and a half away from Eli's home. And every Tuesday, they drove that hour and a half to be able to see him for about a 2-hour visit. They never missed one visit. Not one time did they miss his opportunity to go see his son. Then in February of 2022, a Ramsey County judge dismissed Jalissa's request for a restraining order against Tori after finding that her allegations of abuse were not proven. Once again, she tried again in March to get another restraining order, and on May 4th, 2022, Eli's guardian, Sherry Larson, dismissed the latest request for a protective order, noting there were no new allegations and that she could find no solid evidence to support any of the claims. It was at this point that Jalissa's grandmother, Linda, saw the truth about the domestic abuse claims, and she stated, quote, that man doesn't have a mean bone in his body. You drop the restraining order right now, or you can consider our relationship done, end quote. And that was the last time Linda spoke to Jalissa. On March 11th, 2022, Tori applied for full custody of Eli, and 6 days later, on March 17th, Jalissa purchased a shotgun. So Tori once again filed for full custody of his son, and 6 days later, Jalissa bought a shotgun. A friend of hers said that she started talking about wanting a gun and wanting to learn how to shoot. So he took her to a shooting range for 2 days straight to help her learn. Then on March 30th, a judge ruled to maintain Dakota County Social Services custody of him instead. The case was then given an inactive status while the Dakota County CPS case was being resolved. It was on May 10th, 2022, Dakota County judge removed Eli from the state's protection. A social worker and Eli's court-appointed guardian both recommended that Eli be placed back in Jalissa's care. That came from a social worker, and that came from his appointed guardian at the time. In her final report, social worker Beth, I'm not going to say her last name, noted that Jalissa was taking her mental health medication regularly and had been taking Eli to all of his medical and therapy appointments since November. She stated that there is no current indication that her son is physically unsafe in her care. 10 days after Jalissa was awarded full custody of her son Eli, 10 days after she was awarded full custody of her son, okay? Not even 2 weeks, 10 days. She was stopped at a traffic stop. It was called into police that a suspicious silver car was driving on the rim of one of their front tires and that the back window was smashed out. When the police located the vehicle, it said that Jalissa looked very disheveled and had blood on her hands, face, and clothing. There was also a lot of blood visible on the rear end of the vehicle, and when the police asked why she was covered in blood, Jalissa said it was because she had been removing a tampon. She stated that she removed a tampon and she got blood everywhere. Officers also noticed that what appeared to be a meat-like tissue matter in the vehicle. Jalissa told them that she had deer meat. She had gotten it from an unknown butcher the night before. So not only does she have blood everywhere, that she's apparently, saying that it's from a tampon, there's meat in the car, and that's from a deer. So the police did not search the car at that very moment. Instead, Jalissa was released from the scene because she was growing impatient, cold, and refused to sit in a squad car. So the officer drove her home, drove her to her house after all of that. It just makes me so angry. Police did impound the vehicle for further investigation. They noticed some bullet holes and more blood throughout the car. When they were inspecting the car and finally got to the trunk, they found a shotgun. Laying next to the shotgun was a gray blanket, and under that blanket was a, quote, deceased apparent juvenile human body with heavy facial trauma, end quote. The police immediately went back to Jalissa's home, but of course she wasn't there. So yes, they found Eli in the back of her trunk. The blood, the meat-like tissue in the car was Eli's. When they reviewed CCTV footage, they saw that she had left the residence just a few minutes before they got there with a male. Her clothes were found in the washing machine, and Jalissa was found pretty quickly. Her and the male were walking on foot, and when she was found, she had blood and human remains still in her hair. Her and the man she was with, her boyfriend, Robert Perkeranen, I don't know how to say his last name, I'll leave it here, were taken into custody. The police noticed that there was some damage on the road due to Jalissa driving on her rim, so they followed that route where they found more human remains, as well as a child's car seat that had been damaged by a shotgun blast. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed that Eli's cause of death was from multiple gunshot wounds. Multiple gunshot wounds. It's a shotgun. You have to reload a shotgun, right? It is not like... Jalissa is thought to have shot Eli up to 9 times. 9 times. She had to reload, even if it's a double barrel. How many times? And a double barrel doesn't even make sense because it would be an even number if she loaded them, maybe she only had 9 bullets. I'm not sure. But even if it's a double barrel shotgun, how many times did she have to shoot and reload that shotgun? That is not human. Jalissa is charged with second-degree murder, and Robert, her boyfriend, who was also arrested when he and Jalissa were first found by the police, was let go due to insufficient evidence connecting him with the case. Jalissa's grandmother, Linda, said, quote, "I blame the court system for not helping her out. We all told the social workers that she needs to be institutionalized, not just for a month, but maybe for a year or more, but nobody listened," end quote. Nikita Kronberg, who was Eli's former foster mother, said, quote, "I told the social worker and the guardian," now remember those are the 2 people that said he should go back to his mom, "that I was worried that she would kill Eli to prevent his father from getting custody. I expressed those fears numerous times and it was clearly brushed aside," end quote. Jalissa's father said something similar to that. He's quoted saying, "I gave the judge her detailed mental health history. I told him that she was displaying paranoia and auditory hallucinations. I said I feared for Eli's safety. It all fell on deaf ears," end quote. Tori's fiance said, "I can't even tell you how many times we expressed our concerns. I'm beyond frustrated that the system failed Eli. Nobody would help us. I always thought there was a missing piece in Tori. It wasn't until he was reunited with Eli that the light went back on in his eyes," end quote. 4 days after Jalissa's son was found in the back of her car, she appeared in court via Zoom, wearing an orange jumpsuit and a medical mask. Her public defender asked for a delay to access, quote, "mental health records before we argue bail," end quote. Jalissa is heard then asking her attorney, quote, "and the results off the rape kit?" And the defender then said, "and the results off the rape kit." I have no idea what this rape kit is, what she is claiming. I am sure there will be some updates on that. Of course, the delay to evaluate mental health records indicates the defense looking into Jalissa's mental health competency to stand trial. So obviously they're trying to go a certain route here for now anyway. And I am really curious to see what that rape kit is and what she's talking about there. So I don't know if any of you heard of this case, but obviously it really upsets me. It's disgusting, and that little boy was completely failed, and it just makes me so angry. So if I hear anything, if there's more details of probably lies being spewed, I will do an update to try to keep everything clear and what is going on with this case and her trial. But yeah, I really want to follow this one because she deserves the worst thing ever that can happen to her. So let me know what you think. If you get any more details, definitely leave them in the comments below. And I do have a link in my description box that if you have any case suggestions or anything like that, fill that out and it gets sent directly to me, and I love when you guys suggest videos, suggest cases. It's just a big help. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. The bell will notify you every single time I upload a video. And this one, guys, this one's hard to get out of the brain. So I am sorry if it stays with you for a little bit, but take some time for your own mental health, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for giving me your time.